It's time for some history storytelling with New Era Maiden. So I haven't covered any Maiden alongside a history analysis since I did the Empire of the Clouds reaction. And yeah, we all know that Maiden like to incorporate a fine historical yarn into their music. So we're doing one today. Yeah. And this next one came off the 2003 Dance of Death album. Yes, Dance of Death. Yes, that was the album. Passchendaele was the first New Era song that I discovered. And if you're interested in that particular reaction, you can check there. But yeah, so this will be my second song off Dance of Death. Okay, and the track is called Montsegur. It's written by Yannick Gers, Steve Harris and Bruce Dickinson. And the subject matter is the siege of Chateau de Montségur. Quite inauspicious moments that highlight the brutality of Catholicism in Middle Age Europe. Just quickly, please check the links below in the comment section to find ways how you can support this channel and request history-specific theme songs. Any support is really welcome. So, Montsegur, and I've got my Dave Murray radar on, ready to go, looking for any solos that Davey might be doing, and, well, let's do this. Okay. Whoa! Oh, yes! Hang on a second. Just quickly. Not only does this just smash the front door down as soon as it starts, that tempo, man. I'm hearing Phantom of the Opera. Yeah. It's that tempo, isn't it? Oh, I like this. Okay, I really apologize for that, but yeah, I just had to stop it. I tell you what, let's start over again, and yeah, I just had to say that. Apologies. Okay. Alrighty, let's do this again. Do you get the Phantom thing? Oh. It's naughty, isn't it? I stand alone in this desolate space. In death they are truly alive. Massacre, innocent, evil took place. The angels were burning inside. Centuries later, I wonder why. Secret they took to their grave. Still burning. Nice crunchy riff. Skies, religion still burning inside. And the gates and the walls of Montségur, blood on the stones of the citadel. And the gates and the walls of Montségur, blood on the stones of the citadel. Nice. And the gates and the walls of Montségur, blood on the stones of the citadel. And the gates and the walls of Montségur. Guitar layers. As we kill them all, so that will no resound. The innocents die for the permanent throne. Catholic greed and its paranoid zeal. Curse of the grail and the blood of the cross. Desperate believers will murder their hands. Join in the chorus to kill on command. Burned at the stake for its soul's liberty. The guitar is shadowing Bruce's voice. Old Testament crippled and black. Satan, his weapon is lost. Living this evil damnation of flesh. Back to the torture of life. The perfect would willingly die in the stake. And all of their followers slain. I love that crunchy riff. Knowledge of God they acclaim. Religion still burning inside. And the gates and the walls of Montségur.
must be a new era depth. The guitars on this part. Is this the chorus or is it the previous one? There's the phantom tempo, man. Oh yeah. This is fun, man. Don't think it's Dave, is it? Oh, nice, man. That's the 3 guitars, right? So clear now. Time change. Melody switched up a bit. Cool. Back to Bruce and the guitar. With the shadowing. There's a real depth with the guitars on this. Really cool, man. Whoa. Oh, I like this ending.
Oh, wow. That was good, man. I mean, that ending was like the cherry on the cake then. But also there was this really cool riff before it as well. I tell you what, I enjoyed that. I really did. And that phantom-esque kind of tempo, which I do apologize for stopping at the beginning, but it was like, okay, I just got to say it, you know. But that was really nice. Really cool. And I've got to say, this track really does highlight the 3 guitar sound. And I'm saying this specifically now because the previous Maiden reaction I did was Wicker Man. And I specifically said, oh, I would have thought that they would, you know, showcase the 3 guitars because that was the first single back, you know. But this track does that. And there's so much depth as well, man. Whoa. Now, I did catch a glimpse of the lyrics as we were going along. And of course, because I knew Montsegur was the actual subject matter, I did some delving into Montsegur and the siege of Montsegur prior to the reaction. So let's have a butcher's, shall we, of what this is all about properly. Montsegur. Montsegur in southwest France, sort of the Pyrenees. So, have the Pyrenees and then you're in the Basque region, right, in Spain. And the fortification, Château de Montségur. Now, apparently, this fortification is situated at a height of 1,200 metres, and it's on top of a rocky outcrop locally known as a pog. Yeah. So what exactly was the siege of Montségur? Right. Well, the siege took place between May 1243 and March 1244. So, give or take 10, 11 months, something like that. And the two factions that were involved were the royal forces of Louis of France, and he was with the bishops of Albi and Narbonne, and they were pitted against the forces of Pierre Roger de Minipoix, who was given the responsibility to protect a community of Cathars. Cathars, yes. What are Cathars? Well, I'm sure some of you know, but for those who don't, Cathars, it's a Christian fellowship or following. Right? Now, between the 12th and the 14th centuries, Catharism, is that what do you call it? Catharism? Not entirely sure. But there were many Cathars, let's say, in northern Italy and southern France. And this is Montsegur that we're discussing, which, as I said, is southwest France on the Pyrenees, around there. Now, the Cathars were considered a heretical sect by the Catholic Church. Now, why were they considered that? I think back in those days, the Catholic Church kind of frowned upon anybody who wasn't Catholic. You know, we've all heard about them, burning Protestants and so forth. So anybody who wasn't Catholic was considered bad, I guess. Now, this was in fact part of a wider crusade. Now, when we talk about crusades, I'm sure you, like I do, will immediately think of the famous crusades of, Christianity against the Muslim powers of the Middle East. Richard the Lionheart and all that kind of stuff. Okay? But this was a different crusade. This was a crusade specifically targeting Cathars, and it took place in the early 1200s. Now, it lasted for 19 years. Okay? And this is quite shocking. And I found it quite shocking, at least, when I read about this. Today, it's widely considered this crusade to have been a genocide. A genocide. So, we've kind of understood that the Catholics didn't like them. I mean, they didn't like anybody who wasn't Catholic, let's be honest. But what were the specific reasons why they disliked the Cathars? Well, unsurprisingly, it was because of their beliefs. Okay, so the Cathars didn't believe in materialism in religion, which, when you think about it, is the complete opposite to Catholicism. Right? Now, the Cathars saw their belief as the true Christian message, which is basically, as I said, they didn't believe in materialism. They ditched all the ostentatiously decorated churches and the gold leaf and all that kind of thing. But that wasn't the only reason why the Catholic Church despised them. Apparently, the Cathars were quite outspoken about the Catholic clergy, who, let's just say, had a reputation for not being entirely holier than thou, I suppose. The Cathars thought they weren't really a true Christian belief, and it was more about, wealth and showing off, I suppose. And of course, the Catholic Church didn't like that, right? And by all accounts, it's considered a genocide. So it was not just a one-off scuffle or anything like that, Now, apparently, the siege occurred quite a few years after the crusade had ended. And the Cathars had been given the right to continue practicing thanks to the Treaty of Paris-Mur in 1229. Now, in 1233, the Cathar bishop Gilbert de Castres asked a certain Raymond de Perel, who was a local powerful nobleman, for permission to make Montségur the seat and head of the Cathar Church. Now, in 1241, the Count of Toulouse, and of course Toulouse is also in southern France, okay, and the Count was a chap by the name of Raymond VII, so another Raymond. He decided that he wanted to impress the King of France. And the king himself, coincidentally, was also a Catholic, right? He thought, let's try and impress. And basically he attempted to try and remove the Cathars from the chateau. And this, it seems, was the beginning of all the trouble that was to follow. So let's check the text of the song and see how it aligns with the history, shall we? I stand alone in the desolate space. In death they are truly alive. Massacred innocents, evil took place. The angels were burning inside. Centuries later, I wonder why, what secret they took to their grave. Still burning heretics under our skies. Religions still burning inside. So I guess this first verse seems like it's written from the perspective of a modern day visitor, because they're talking about centuries later, and he's wondering about, what secrets did they take to their grave? And of course, it's describing, burning heretics. The Catholic Church considered the Cathars heretics. At the gates and the walls of Montsegur, blood on the stones of the citadel. At the gates and the walls of Montsegur, blood on the stones of the citadel. Okay, and this is repeating. So maybe this is the chorus. I think this was the part where you had the trio playing together. There's a lot of depth in this, I think. So the next section, as we killed them all, so God will know his own. The innocents died for the Pope on his throne. Catholic greed and its paranoid zeal. Curse of the Grail and the blood of the cross. Templar believers with blood on their hands joined in the chorus to kill on command, burned at the stake for their soul's liberty, to stand with the Cathars to die and be free. So this is telling the story of, we see the connection of Catholicism. We talk about the Grail, curse of the Grail and the blood of the cross. Okay. Templar believers with blood on their hands. Now this is interesting because, as I said, I did a bit of reading about Montsegur. Okay. But let's just continue with the lyrics a little bit. The book of Old Testament, crippled and black, Satan his weapon is lust. Living this evil damnation of flesh back to the torture of life. The perfect would willingly die at the stake. And all of the followers slain. As for the knowledge of God they had claimed, religion still burning inside. And then we have, I guess, either a chorus or pre-chorus, I guess, because then we go back to the at the gates and the walls of Montsegur, blood on the stones of the citadel. And then we have that section where Bruce's voice is shadowed by the guitar. As we kill them all, so God will know his own. The innocents died for the Pope on his throne. Catholic greed and its paranoid zeal. And basically it's just repeating to the end. Now what's interesting, right, about this, after the surrender of the siege, so they did surrender, okay? As I said, it was around 10, 11 months. But there was a 15-day truce at the end of this siege. Now, all the people in the castle were allowed to leave except those who would not renounce their Cathar faith. Okay? Now, these were referred to as the perfecti. Now, in one of the verses, it says, the perfect would willingly die at the stake. The perfect. Okay? Now, apparently, there were 230 Cathars that refused to renounce their faith. And these guys were referred to as perfectes. So this is what it's referring to in the verse. Okay. Now, during the 2-week truce, the Perfecti prayed and fasted themselves. Now, on March 16th, led by Bishop Bertrand Marty, the group left the castle, okay, and walked down from this rocky outcrop to a place further down where there was this huge pile of wood. And essentially, this was a pyre. It's built like a bonfire, right? And this is interesting because in the text it says about stakes, but according to historical records, no stakes were actually used at this particular moment. Now, burning at the stake was common practice and was used during the crusade against the Cathars, but the Perfecti weren't burnt at the stake. They actually voluntarily climbed up onto the wood, onto the pyre. They weren't strapped down or tied down or anything. They voluntarily allowed themselves to be burnt alive. They all just climbed on top and then didn't try and escape. Yeah, that is that's kind of, well. Okay, and something else which is of interest, in either the pre-chorus, chorus, I don't know which part it is. I think this is where it mentions the Templars, and I discovered this about Montsegur. Yeah, this is the part where Bruce's voice is being shadowed by that guitar, right? And it mentions, curse of the Grail and the blood of the cross, Templar believers with blood on their hands. Now, I found, apparently, it's claimed that 4 of the Cathars managed to escape before the end of the siege. All right? And this has led to some legends that they escaped with a secret treasure or some kind of historic knowledge. Ooh. Now, in 1906, the French writer Joséphine Péladan, proposed that the treasure was none other than the Holy Grail. Yeah. And, of course, we're mentioning Templars. The Templars are always associated with the Holy Grail in stories and whatnot, right? Now, this idea was followed up and expanded upon by various later writers, especially in France. And it's created all sorts of legend and conspiracy theories and fictional stories about the Holy Grail and their connection with Montsegur and also the Cathars. I mean, that's interesting. I like that. But yeah, that was a fantastic track. Seriously. I mean, brilliant energy. You know, that Phantom of the Opera-esque tempo, which got me all a bit excited. But it was great, man. Really, really good. And then you had that really cool part with the shadowing guitar underneath Bruce's voice. And the depth and sound of the 3 guitars really comes to light in this, doesn't it? I mean, it really does. And of course, there's this really interesting historical story as well. I mean, a genocide in southern France, Catholicism going mad on another Christian religion, and of course there's the legend and the conspiracy theories around the Holy Grail. Brilliant. I mean, it essentially ticks all the boxes, man. Excellent. Up the irons.